northern Pacific, plunging down in a sweeping arc toward the surface of the ocean, is the re-entry capsule from one of our orbiting satellites. In the far reaches of the upper air, it is a thing alone, infinitesimally small against the immensity of its background. Patrolling the air above the selfsame Pacific Ocean, on station out of Hawaii, is a specially equipped twin-engine C-119 aircraft of the United States Air Force. For years, tagged with the unglamorous title of Flying Boxcar, this plane has a very important mission to perform. Inside, the crew wait for the event which brings them to patrol this cubic dimension of air. Wait for ET, PD, estimated time, parachute deployment. For from the descending capsule will blossom a parachute, and the men in the plane below will attempt to catch a falling star.
This is my world. Looking at the pole handler silhouetted against a square piece of sky. Here I sit in my dimly lit office, up in the air next to a winch, wait for my job to begin. My job? Still sounds strange even when I say it. Hooking a space capsule. That's what all this paraphernalia back here is for. A couple of aerial fishing poles that will be run out with 4 hooks attached. And here I sit with a reel big enough to catch a whale. Well, you fishermen might be interested. My line here, nylon, tests out at about 3,000 pounds. But I'm a little ahead of myself. When you sit here like I do, waiting for a strike, you have a lot of time to think. And I got to thinking this. I'll bet a lot of people would be interested in knowing how the Air Force snatches a space capsule out of the air, on the fly. Of course, if I'm going to tell this story, you have to realize one thing. This is a mighty big and complicated operation when you consider the effort to put the satellite up in the first place and everything. So I'm going to give a lot of it the once-over lightly treatment. Anyway, here goes. I always think of things starting at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, with a missile booster standing tall on a launching pad, a booster with enough thrust to push the capsule up into space. And then I see it rising, straight up from its pad. In my mind, I continue to follow the series of events that take place after it leaves the Earth, curving toward the south. Then the satellite vehicle separating from the booster and taking off on its own. Then the gas jets, positioning it so it is horizontal to the Earth, coasting up and up until it reaches its destined altitude. Then the start of the engine, which pushes the vehicle up to speed that will place it in orbit around the Earth. Then, speed attained, cut off of the engine. As the vehicle moves over the globe, it positions itself so it travels tail end first in its polar orbit voyage around the Earth. However, this is not a free voyager in space. Men on the ground still have control of its actions. And so, here we are at the Satellite Test Annex at Sunnyvale near San Francisco, California. Information about the bird funnels in here from tracking stations. Stations at Vandenberg, at Kodiak in Alaska. Information from the station at New Boston out on the East Coast. From Hawaii. Through these tracking stations, the center in California generates commands to the satellite while it travels in orbit. Here, all the raw data from the tracking stations are fed into a computer, and out comes a status report which gives the health of the bird for on-orbit control. There's a big story here at STA, one of which I can't go into at this time, but to summarize, this center finds out how it goes with the satellite. Then by sending commands to the tracking stations, the satellite programmer is corrected so it does the right things at the right time. So, we have a satellite in a stabilized polar orbit. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, as they say in westerns, the recovery forces out in Hawaii are getting set to retrieve the capsule. This is a sizable operation, involving over 500 men of the Air Force and the Navy. When you boil it down, we recovery people really work toward two big goals. First, to synchronize all our activities to ETPD, estimated time parachute deployment. And second, to locate the descending capsule by geographic coordinates. But I'm a little ahead of myself again. Let's go back to our satellite for a moment. After it is up for a time, scientists want to bring the capsule back to Earth. And the objective is to bring it back to Earth in this area of the Pacific surrounding the Hawaiian Islands. Or land it in a ballpark, as they say in the trade. On one of its passes, the capsule is separated from the satellite proper. This is done over the Alaskan area. At this time, the satellite vehicle is pitched down 60 degrees. The reentry body containing the capsule is separated. A retro-rocket fires, pushing the reentry body away from its mother satellite and down in a direction opposite to its forward motion. It falls in a big, sweeping arc from Alaska to Hawaii. Airmail Express, you might say, from the 49th state to the 50th state. As it starts to enter the denser air, the parachute is deployed. Now, this happens around 50,000 feet. Well, now to get back to our part of the ball game. Like any good outfielder, we want to be in a position to catch the ball. To do this, we draw a line on a chart. This represents the flight path of the incoming capsule. Or, if you want to be technical, this is the capsule ephemeris. Along this line, we position our aircraft and ships of the Pacific Missile Range. The recovery forces are staggered in a precise pattern, so at least one will be in a position to recover. Aerial recovery is our prime method, mainly because it offers a faster, more flexible mode of operating over an unfenced piece of water real estate which can shift from day to day. But there are backup systems of recovery. Both the Air Rescue Service and the Navy have the capability of retrieving capsules from the open sea. For instance, pararescue men can parachute down, equipped with shallow water diving gear, and keep guard on the capsule until it can be picked up by surface ships. Techniques are also being developed to rig the capsule so it can be hooked by low-flying aircraft and hauled aboard. But to get back to aerial recovery and our part in this story, let us assume our satellite is well established in orbit. The decision is made by the program director that this will be a 3-day bird, okay? So the word is passed to the commander of the recovery forces at Hickam. Here, all pertinent information is put on the board so the progress of the operation can be monitored from a position close to the recovery area. The word goes down the line that we are ready to make a catch, and the old military chain of command goes into effect, until one winch operator, namely me, gets the word. When I get the word, it's after duty hours, and I'm home plucking a few papayas from my tree. Now, not that I always get to pick papayas, mind you, the way they keep us jumping. Anyway, Hawaii, it's great. This is outdoor living at its best. Where else can you wear an aloha shirt the year round? But, tropic paradise or no, old Dad gets the message. Report in at 06:30 in the morning. When you drive over the Pali, as I did the next morning, you can look down at Honolulu. It doesn't take much to make you think of the long way the Air Force has come since the old B-17s were bombed and strafed back on that 7th of December. Now here we are in the age of missiles, and space probes, and satellites. As I drove past the parked aircraft at Hickam, I remembered too the days we spent at Edwards Air Force Base in California, when we were practicing and perfecting the aerial recovery technique. Now the old C-119s are phasing out. We're getting new turboprop C-130s ready as replacement aircraft. At operations, we went through our briefing. The usual stuff: weather, taxi takeoff times, communications, en route checks, on-station time, recovery SOPs, and so forth. Then, the last gulp of coffee, and we're on our way. Out to the waiting aircraft. I guess my feelings are typical of the way most guys feel about the 119s. It's a mixed feeling of pride and you dog you. You see, the 119 was never designed to do the kind of job we're doing. When we take off, we're about 4,000 pounds overweight. That's due to the extra fuel we carry in a fuselage tank to give us longer endurance. Like we roll down that runway forever. Finally, with a last desperate shudder, we're airborne. But, like I said, we won't be using the 119s much longer. They did a great job when they were needed. But the extra performance of the C-130 is a must today. We figured our time, so we're on station 1 hour before parachute deployment. When on station, the navigator reports our position. So you'll know what's going on. The code name for our aircraft is Oil Cake 3.
Unwind 36, Oil Cake 3 on Alpha 1. Cake 3, unwind 36, go ahead. Unwind 36, Oil Cake 3, on station at this time, request verification. Oil Cake 3, unwind 36, roger, have you on the scope. Stand by this frequency. Unwind 36, Oil Cake 3, roger, standing by this frequency.
Unwind 36 is a radar-equipped constellation. One of 3 RC-121s of the Air Defense Command, which monitor a broad area and act as a command post in the actual recovery area. With their powerful radars, they can spot all the recovery aircraft and check whether they are on station. They also help to locate the descending capsule and vector in aircraft to make recovery runs.
Winch operator, pilot. Pilot, winch operator, go ahead. Winch operator, pilot. Start rigging and put recovery poles in trail position. Pilot, winch operator. Roger, sir.
The recovery poles we run out are 34 feet in length. We keep them up at this point to cut down drag on the aircraft.
Checklist, sir. Winch operator, pilot, go ahead.
Pilot, winch operator. Recovery poles rigged and in trail position. Cable cutter armed. Lead power switch on. Motor power switch off. Motor in low gear. Pawl engaged. Level wind up. Delay setting turned in on 2. Brake setting 3.